It's the kind of loss that ripples through the clubs and studios like a skipped beat in a perfect groove, doesn't it? Just this morning, on September 22nd, 2025, the house music family awoke to a profound silence. Ron Carroll, the electrifying vocalist, DJ, and producer whose preacher-like timbre turned tracks into sermons of the soul, has passed away at the age of 57. Fellow Chicago trailblazer Deontay Pennington broke the news on Facebook from a hotel room during his own birthday celebration, his words heavy with heartbreak. "The news we just received just broke my heart." No cause of death has been shared yet, leaving fans and collaborators holding their breath amid the tributes pouring in from across the globe. Picture it, Ron, the man who could make a dance floor feel like church with a single ad-lib, slipping away quietly, perhaps with a faint echo of one of his anthems playing in the ether. It's a punch to the gut for anyone who's ever felt the spirit lift on a remix he blessed too soon, too vibrant a light to dim. But Ron wouldn't want us stuck on the breakdown. He'd cue up the drop, urging us to celebrate the rhythm he laid down over 3 decades. Let's do that, shall we? Let's spin back the records from those Chicago church pews to the world stages he owned, because Ron Carroll wasn't just a voice in house. He was its heartbeat, preaching love and lift in every lyric. Born Ronald Michael Carroll in the vibrant, unyielding pulse of Chicago in 1968, Ron's story kicked off in a city where gospel harmonies met the underground thump of a new sound rising from the warehouses. As a boy, he was that wide-eyed kid in the church choir, his voice cutting through the rafters with a clarity that turned hymns into something electric. Little did he know, those Sunday mornings were schooling him for the electronic sermons to come. His family wasn't in the spotlight. They were everyday Chicagoans, the kind who filled homes with soul records and stories of resilience, instilling in young Ron a faith-fueled fire that would later infuse his house hooks. Teen years brought a rock detour. He was all in on Kiss, dreaming of Gene Simmons' fire-breathing flair, but fate flipped the script at a high school dance. There he was, mesmerized not by the band, but by the DJ weaving magic from behind the decks, scratching and blending like a conjurer. That moment hooked him deep. By the late 80s, Ron was spinning his own sets in a club he opened himself, a scrappy spot on the south side where the crowd's energy felt like family. It was raw apprenticeship, nights blurring into mornings, tweaking mixes until the bass line hit just right, all while holding down day jobs to keep the dream afloat. His breakthrough came in 1993 with My Prayer, a debut single produced by local legends Hula of Out There Brothers fame, K Fingers and Ron Trent, a soul-stirred plea that whispered of the gospel roots bubbling under the house surface. But it was '94's Winter Music Conference in Miami that changed the game. Ron boldly approached Masters at Work's Louis Vega, scribbling lyrics on the spot for Barbara Tucker's I Get Lifted. Vega saw the spark, and just like that, Ron joined the elite deep soul crew alongside Mike Dunn and Byron Stingily, co-writing and voicing tracks that became Chicago anthems. The 90s were his ascent, collaborations with E-Move on Joy Vibes, Maurice Joshua remixes that pulsed with urgency, and his own The Sermon, a track so potent it felt like a revival meeting on vinyl. By the early 2000s, Europe called louder, teaming with Dutch duo Hardzol on Back Together in 2003, a euphoric rebuild that topped charts and packed clubs from Amsterdam to Ibiza. Then came the crown jewel, What a Wonderful World, with Bob Sinclair and Axwell in '04, a sun-soaked rewrite of the Louis Armstrong classic that exploded on Sinclair's Enjoy album, selling millions and cementing Ron as the go-to voice for feel-good house. Hits kept dropping like confetti. Lucky Star, with Superfunk, a global smash that moved over 500,000 units, vocals on Eric Murillo's deep cuts, even dips into progressive house with melodic lifts that surprised and seduced. As a producer, often paired with partner Spiro Pagos, he shaped sounds for the next wave, running his own label to nurture fresh talent while DJing residencies that bridged continents. Over 30 years, Ron's discog swelled with hundreds of credits, from underground 12 inches to festival closers, earning him the moniker, the Minister of Sound, for that commanding, choir-boy delivery that made every track feel like testimony. He wasn't chasing Grammys. He was building a bridge from Chicago's warehouses to the world's main stages, proving house could heal as much as it hyped. Even into his 50s, he was a fixture, booked for Amsterdam dance event this October, balancing soulful sets with mentorship for up-and-comers, his legacy a masterclass in blending faith, funk, and four on the floor. Through the tours and track drops, though, it was family and those tight-knit Chicago ties that kept Ron's compass true, the steady bass line under his soaring solos. He kept his personal world close to the chest, no sprawling tell-alls or red carpet rosters, but in interviews, he'd light up about the roots that raised him, the parents who dragged him to choir practice, turning reluctance into revelation, and siblings who'd blast his early demos from the family basement, their cheers louder than any club roar. No mentions of a spouse or kids in the spotlight. Ron's circle was that classic Windy City crew, extended family forged in the scene, godparents like Vega who became uncles in spirit, or the deep soul collective that felt like brothers, sharing post-session meals of deep dish and dreams over late-night diner coffee. He'd reminisce about high school pals who DJ'd alongside him in that first club, turning a rundown spot into a haven where locals found escape, much like his own. Grandkids? Perhaps, whispered in off-mic chats about legacy, but Ron poured that paternal fire into the next gen of artists, hosting workshops where he'd break down vocal runs like a dad teaching bike balance, gentle nudges, big encouragement. Losses hit hard too. The house community mourned mutual friends over the years, pulling Ron closer to his bloodkin during quiet Chicago winters, where holidays meant home-cooked collards and collabs over eggnog. It was understated devotion, flying back from European gigs for family barbecues or dedicating tracks like Back Together to the bonds that rebuilt him after lean times. In tributes today, peers like Pennington call him family to the core, a man whose loyalty ran deeper than any remix, reminding us that behind the mic was a soul who valued harmony off the decks as much as on. Ron's family wasn't fame's flash, it was the quiet chorus that sang him home, the ones who'll keep his records spinning at gatherings, turning grief into groove. That grounded heart shaped his lifestyle too, a whirlwind of global hustle wrapped in Chicago comfort, the kind of rhythm where jet lag met home fries without missing a beat. Ron stayed rooted in the Windy City, bouncing between a cozy South Side apartment stacked with vinyl crates and a modest home studio where the walls hummed with half-mixed masters, fairy lights from club residencies tangled in the mic stands. It wasn't baller excess. Think well-worn turntables from his 80s startup days, a kitchen corner for soul food experiments, those church-raised collards with a house twist, and a balcony overlooking the L train for late-night inspirations when the city's pulse synced with his own. Tours were his pulse, packing clubs in Berlin one week, beach raves in Brazil the next, Asia's megafests the month after, always with that signature fedora tilted just so, a nod to his minister vibe. Spinning sets that blended his classics with fresh flips till dawn. Off-duty? Balance was key. Mornings at local gyms, pounding the treadmill to clear the vocal cobwebs, afternoons mentoring in community centers, teaching kids from the projects how to layer loops like he learned in choir. Evenings might mean a low-key diner with scene vets, debating the evolution from disco to deep house over malts, or unwinding with a cigar and a book on spirituality, his faith a thread through it all. Health stayed front and center. He'd swear by vocal warm-ups borrowed from gospel runs, balanced with hearty Midwestern meals, deep dish Fridays, veggie stir-fries for tour prep, no crash diets, just sustainable soul. Politically, he leaned into uplift, supporting Chicago arts grants quietly, his label a launchpad for underrepresented voices in-house. Net worth at the time of his passing? Estimates hover around $1 to $3 million, pieced from royalties on those million-selling hits, DJ fees from international spins, and label profits funneled back into the community. Smart, not splashy. Invested in property near the old club spots and scholarships for young DJs. Splurges? A custom console for the studio, or treating the crew to post-gig steak at Manny's. But Ron lived the ethos. Wealth in the work, not the wallet. Weekends home meant family drives to Lake Michigan, toes in the sand, plotting the next sermon track, or hosting barbecues where the grill smoked and the decks thumped till neighbors joined in. It was a life of joyful jet set grounded in grit, proving you could chase the global groove without losing your hometown hum. And woven into every set, every session, are those electric anecdotes that capture Ron's spark, the off-deck moments that turned collaborators into confidants and fans into faithful. Take that fateful Miami meet with Vega, Ron, fresh-faced and fearless, cornering the legend mid-conference, pen in hand, blurting lyrics for I Get Lifted like a street preacher with a prophecy. It landed him in deep soul, but more. It birthed a brotherhood where they'd swap gospel tales over hotel room hashes. Or the Lucky Star magic with Superfunk, holed up in a Paris studio, Ron ad-libbing that iconic Feel the Love hook after a late-night walk along the Seine. The track exploding into a worldwide earworm that had clubbers from Tokyo to Toronto chanting his name like a hymn. He'd laugh about his first club gig, fumbling mixes till a patron yelled, "Preach it, brother." A nickname stuck, evolving into the Minister as his voice became House's voice of reason. Family flashes warmed him too, sneaking his choir-aged nephew into an early set, only for the kid to steal the mic for a goofy freestyle that ended up sampled in a B-side. And Europe? That Hard Soul collab on Back Together sparked a romance with the continent. Ron once quipped about missing Chicago winters, but loving Amsterdam's canals, where he'd boat hop between sessions, jotting bars inspired by the bikes whizzing by. Regrets? He owned the rock phase as a detour to the devil's beat, but spun it into gratitude. Kiss taught me showmanship. House taught me soul. Even recently, prepping for ADE, he'd text Pennington about a new remix, saying, "It's all love, always has been." Peers today echo it, Sinclair calling him the voice of joy, Murillo's camp sharing unseen studio pics, proving Ron's $1 to $3 million tally was chump change next to the vibes he vaulted, the scenes he sanctified. The way his sermons still save souls on the floor. As we let Ron Carroll's groove fade into that eternal after-party, from Chicago choirs to global anthems, I hope it stirs the dancer in you, a spin of "What a Wonderful World" to Toast the Minister, a reach for a loved one mid-mix, or just letting the bass remind you life's one long, lifted set. He bridged worlds with his voice, turning nights into revelations and strangers into a congregation. If his rhythm moved you, hit like to keep the beat going, and subscribe for more tributes to the sounds that shape us. What's on your playlist tonight? Thanks for the session, keep the faith, feel the love, and take care.